So here we are, folks. I'm in Cumbria. I've come to speak to our treasurer, Cllr Jefferson. Clive, I want to speak to you about this document here. This is the dodgy dossier.
The dodgy dossier.
The one, the very same one. About 58 pages worth of professionally produced literature there. What I intend to do today with this is to put a few things to bed. You know, this is the dossier that was leaked from the Executive Council onto the internet and for the world to see. So it's been a long time coming. We haven't been able to say much about this up until now. Now we can. So I would like to start, please, and ask you a few questions. The first one would be about the wills. Wills are mentioned in the dodgy dossier. Could you elaborate on wills and the little process surrounding the wills and how they work?
Yes, Adam, I can. And for the viewers, me and Adam's having a bit of a banter there. The label of the document, of course, isn't dodgy dossier. It was whatever it was, waffling away. But I dubbed it the dodgy dossier to the Advisory Council after I'd read it, and I answered to the Advisory Council that it was a dodgy dossier, and it was a scurrilous attempt at blatant propaganda that was going to end up on being released, which is probably why it was emailed to 25 people, which we never do in the Advisory Council, as you know, the Executive Council. We don't round robin things unless they're written for a wider distribution. That's my personal opinion, but I'm sure that'll be found to be the case.
But quite ironically, up until recently, we've never had a leak in the Executive Council, have we?
Not for years.
Years, no.
Years.
It's quite ironic that it's happened recently as well, isn't it?
It's well, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace, to be honest. We were absolutely rock solid for years, 3-4 years,
at least, yeah.
Before the last internal descent. You know what I mean? Bad state of affairs. But anyways, it's there, right? And I'm in the hot seat now. Adam's asked me about wills. So, yes, wills are important to us, and they're important to the people that wrote them. And the first off I'd like to say about that, I just find it absolutely reprehensible, Adam, that I'm not going to keep naming the individual that wrote the dodgy dossier, but it was Nick Griffin. But why he done that, I think, has become clear over the last couple of days, to be honest, to destabilise, to sow doubt, and we'll see how things turn out. But it's all becoming clearer now. But wills are a serious thing. I take it very seriously. I've trained up on that, and it's kept this party alive, and it's done a good service to our patriots who would otherwise have had their money taken by the government. And given the choice of the government taking their money, or in the places like Cornwall, it goes to Prince Charles, for example, and there's various little...
Because it's quite fairly hard up, isn't it, Prince Charles?
He is, of course, yeah. But you find these little things out in the way. But we started this push a few years ago now. I got trained up on it, and we do a real professional service, and we care for our people as well. And it's no light matter to try and undermine confidence in something that has been so successful and so a service that has been crucial to people, as well as vital for the party's long-term future. And to attack that and everything in the finances, I find insanely spiteful, to be honest. The wills, specifically, we've never done a will for anybody that didn't approach us. We put the information's out there. We offer a free service, and a professional service, and a confidential service. And I think that's an important thing to say, because anybody that's lodged a will with the party, it is absolutely confidential, as it is when you lodge it with a solicitor. You remember the old Agatha Christie movies when the solicitor comes round to read
Everybody got excited and
to read the will out,
yeah.
and
then they started a battle.
Yeah, because it's lodged with the solicitor, and even the family don't know in some cases. But I never visit. So after the initial contact is made, either by writing or a phone call or a personal conversation with somebody, we'll arrange a visit. And we go to people's houses, travel extensively, try and group 2 or 3 together to...
Oh, it cuts down on costs, doesn't it? And makes more sense, yeah.
And I never go alone, that's the first thing. And how the process unfolds is you go and you ask somebody. We've got quite detailed questionnaires which have evolved over the last few years, right down to would you like us to rehome your pet, etc. These little things.
Yeah, well, I should imagine it's quite psychologically it's quite difficult as well for you to do that.
It's a challenge as well, and
it's not an easy task.
It's not. It's not.
No.
It's a task that you sort of feel you've done a good job for people, because they are relieved when they put their affairs in order. And but it's not easy. But the rules are you never go alone. And all the wills are checked over by a solicitor or a neutral body to look over them, go through the wording, and checked afterwards.
So this isn't an agreement between yourself and the person. There is also the mediator, which is the solicitor, to keep it all legal and above board.
Wills are never an agreement between me and the person. There is no will I've ever written or had written or been a part of that is an agreement between me and the person. My agreement is agent. I'm providing a service, and it's not an easy service either. Being an executor, it's a very big responsibility, but I'm legally bound to carry out that person's wishes, and I know that none of the wills are made out to me or any person. The written for the bequest to go, or the portion of the bequest, to the British National Party.
So their wishes is basically like what they want to happen at the time of their departure, isn't it? And that can be anything about what colour flowers they would like, whether they would, what music they would like at their funeral. So it's fairly in-depth stuff, isn't it? And very, very emotional stuff.
It can take between 6 and 9 hours, that kind of time, and it's really intense. You maybe have to do 2 visits to get it right, stop over. It's a really intense, and everything's got to be right, and it's got to be checked. So we do a professional service, but let's cut to the chase. Let's get on to what you're trying to get at. So I never go alone. I'm not personally named as a beneficiary in any will. And these wills have been examined by yourself, by our accountant, and by our scrutiny committee who I'm working with for best practice, right? And everybody's happy with that process.
So what happens with the wills then? I mean, are they safe? Or are they in a place of safekeeping?
Of course they are.
I'm sure people would like to know that. I know.
Yes.
I know myself. I've seen where they're kept safe and that we have copies and things. But perhaps you could elaborate on that for folk.
Yes, there's been various really scurrilous allegations in the dodgy dossier, and it's the £10 million question, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I was asked at the last advisory council, executive council meeting, how many wills we had, quantity, and on an average basis, there's a lot of money's worth, potentially. But these people are still alive and they're friends of ours, and we hope they live for many years.
Yeah.
But as a potential asset, rather than it falling into the government hands, yes, a lot of money's worth, and they're held securely in an appropriate place, and other people know where they are. The person who's wrote the will, of course, has a copy, and 3 people in our organisation are aware of it. And the executor, sometimes it's myself, sometimes it's 2 people, sometimes it's somebody's friend or their local solicitor. Depends on their wishes. And that's who'll be the executor. But as an executor, your duty and legal obligations are to carry out those wishes and you haven't got a choice with that. And that's exactly what we do. There's been never a problem with them. They've kept us alive, and they're building a rock-solid future for this party, and it's absolutely vital that we maintain the integrity of the trust that our Treasury Department's built up, and the trust that people give us, and it's quite a humbling thing, to be honest.
So you've said that there's never been a problem with the wills in the past, so when did the problems with the wills begin? It's quite a...
Well, they've never begun. I think...
No, but we've been told that there may be problems, haven't we? I mean, you know, and it's ironic that it coincides with the same time that our ex-chairman stepped aside.
The only time that a problem was invented was a couple of weeks after your chairmanship. And these dodgy dossier was still on the table. And we'll talk about the issues. I'll answer as many questions as I can today. But I suppose one of the questions is, why wasn't it answered extensively, like on our website? People have said that to me. And to be honest, that document should never have been out there, right? Because it's full of absolute provable lies.
Well,
right?
we've got a few of them here, so we'll get on to them, you know. So
so I just want to say that what I should not have answered that in the public domain. I'm talking now about procedures and about safeguards. I'll talk about everything I can, whatever questions you've got, and if you've got questions, any of the viewers, put them through the proper channels, because I don't want 10,000 people ringing me, right?
Well, what's new?
You know, so ask your organiser, pass it up the chain, they'll bring it to the Advisory Council, and like the dodgy dossier, it'll be answered in depth to the satisfaction of our ruling body. And every member of the Executive Council was circulated the dodgy dossier, and they examined it and they looked at it, and you give them, I think, 2 weeks to...
2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks to ponder it.
Window.
And people made their own personal inquiries into various aspects of it, and you asked them if they thought an emergency meeting of the council was required, and you asked everybody to vote on whether a general members meeting was required, emergency general members meeting. And the overwhelming vote, and this is all documented, democratic vote was no, it wasn't. And the inquiries that the members made, they were happy with, and they were happy that that dodgy dossier and any other questions will be correctly put on the agenda of the next scheduled meeting, and it'll all be exposed for the...
as it should be.
As it should be, in the proper place.
At the proper time.
But it's interesting, isn't it, that certain people were wanting lists of things, like wills, right? And I can tell you now, that information is confidential, right? Enough people know about it, who should know about it, who are qualified and who are legally bound to respect the privacy and the wishes of our people, and it'll stay that way. So am I going to email lists of things about everybody on the internet, which probably would have been leaked with a dodgy dossier? Absolutely not. But we are going to set out our exact procedure with that. There was one of the allegations that there was secret bank accounts and that.
Yeah, apparently you've been secretly squirreling away money for a rainy day for yourself.
For myself?
Yeah.
It's, yeah. I am quite offended by that, to be honest. I'm annoyed.
Well, you should be.
I am
given your
annoyed with
track
that.
record of exemplary accounts over the last several years.
7 days before the chairman became the president, he wrote the chairman's report for last year's accounts, where where he was quoted as saying that I was exemplary, and that
those are open. Anybody can see them, can't they?
Yeah,
They're
log on
the
the Electoral Commission
Electoral
website.
Commission website,
and you can read the chairman's report, which I think was written in August, a month before he left. So we've had years of stability and no questions, and suddenly a chairman leaves and he has all these questions, and I am offended by that allegation. But so what you're saying, there was bank accounts.
Yeah, the secret bank account
secret
you're
bank
supposed
account.
to be, you know.
Right, absolute and utter rubbish. A secret bank, right, I have no secret bank accounts. The party has no secret bank accounts. Depending on circumstance, there is an executor's account that is needed from time to time to process, to facilitate
Wills.
one of the wills, but there's a solicitor involved in that process, and everything is documented, and the file closed, the file's opened, the accountant knows about it, the auditors know about it, and you've got to finish off the administration of the account. You close the file, and the file goes in with the audit. So every penny is accounted for, and I believe it was even in the dossier that I'd varied a will or something to get this secret account. Utter nonsense. I cannot vary a will, right? The executor cannot vary a will, right? There is procedures that people do that for tax purposes, etc., but it would need the written authority of at least 3 senior members of the party to do a legal manoeuvre with a solicitor and with the tax office to do such a thing.
So it would never happen, would it? I mean, if a solicitor wouldn't put themselves in that sort of situation.
It could happen for tax purposes. Like I say, it's a common thing for that. We haven't had that much kind of capital investment to go into that in so much depth, but yes, it can be varied for those purposes, but not by me.
Right. Well, that cuts that one out. Now, the next thing, there's mention of staff in the dodgy dossier.
There is, yes.
Yeah, and
there is.
This is quite interesting because, you know, staff, I mean, what's happened with the staff? I know we've had to restructure, haven't we? We've had to restructure, we've had to downsize. The staff, are the staff who were working for us, are they happy?
Yeah, it was quite a piece that written in the dossier.
It was quite a large section.
It was, a good 50%. Let me tell you something about staff and about the way we operate now in the party. And yourself as a union, ex-trade union president should know. We've had real problems in the past, in the distant past, with staff who have been sacked out of hand on a whim with no due process, and we've ended up in court about it. And, you know, just talking to you now, and you're sort of going through this list, and I can see a few more at the bottom.
Oh, yes, right? Believe you me, there's a few more. We need some answers.
You've pulled them up. And it's just starting to occur to me now, right? Because these things you're mentioning, we'll leave that till later anyway. Well, so staff, right.
Yeah, well, yeah, go on.
So, yes, and we said there was reasons why I wasn't going to talk about various things earlier. I shouldn't have had to talk about various things, but that dossier was written about areas that the person that wrote the dossier knew that I couldn't talk about. I could have done. I've took a lot of flack, right? But I didn't, because if I did, then confidentiality would be broken, and the agreements, the fair agreements that were being negotiated with various people would have fallen, right? And I'm not going to talk about them now in specifics, right? What I can show you, I have one such thing here. We'll just it's like a sooty sweep show, isn't it?
So this is the real live document.
This is the real live document, and it's called a settlement agreement. Yeah, and it's quite extensive, and that's how the manager and the Treasury Department deal with all staff movements and agreements now. It's a legally binding document. It includes confidentiality and protection for both sides. These were overseen by union reps, and they're studied by a neutral solicitor who then countersigns the document with the member of staff and with myself as representative, and it's got to be voluntary and everybody's got to be happy with both sides of their different sections, and then they're bound by the agreements they've made.
And they can take some time to iron them out, can't they? Sometimes, you know, there's a bit of negotiation there.
Of course they can.
With the word and various things. So how many members of staff, so we've done that now, how many members of staff are really upset at this point in time, and how many have been sacked without any representation, and how many are taking us to court?
None.
Oh, well, that makes a change, doesn't it?
I think it's the first, to be honest. But again, various things in the dodgy dossier that you do want to come out and just say, right, let's have this out. And again, I'm not going to talk about that. I've taken advice, and I've said as much as I'm willing to say.
Yep.
I'm not going to name people.
No.
Because I don't break confidences.
Right, brilliant. So there's the staff issue sorted. We've done the secret account, we've done a little bit on the wills there as well. Bankruptcy. I mean, this seems to be quite a big one, and this one's being pushed quite a lot, isn't it? The fact that there are problems occurring. So can you shed some light on that for everybody, please?
Bankruptcy in general, Adam?
Well, not bankruptcy in general, to do with the party. You know, there seems to be a lot of mud being thrown at us at the moment with regards to bankruptcy and how it's connected to what we're trying to do at the moment.
Well, good propaganda, written for propaganda purposes, always has got to have a little bit of truth mixed in there, hasn't it? And yes, there has been a bankruptcy. Of course there's been a bankruptcy situation. Mr. Griffin went bankrupt, personally. And he went personally bankrupt for legal debts that he had incurred. And I think Mr. Griffin was still chairman for 7 months after his bankruptcy.
Yeah, it was well before Christmas, wasn't it, when he became bankrupt?
And we only hear about problems now. It's interesting one, that.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is just an alarmist piece of propaganda that is designed, like the rest of it, to sow doubt in people's minds. And where finance is concerned, people are naturally concerned, and you should be concerned, anybody that's watching this. You should be concerned, and you should ask the questions. And I'm not, when I said I was offended earlier, I'm not offended at the questions, I'm offended at the allegations that caused the doubt. So you're entitled to ask questions, and you should, and I'll answer them. But the bankruptcy, the dodgy dossier is what, 2 months old now, is it?
Something like that, yeah.
And I think there was impending doom, wasn't there? Another crisis.
Yeah, the whole world was coming down, wasn't it? The sky was going to fall in, and we had 24 hours to sort everything out because a crisis was imminent, I think, to quote. And
there was, we were going to be stripped of everything until right down to the last pencil.
Everything, the whole lot, yeah.
That is the last pencil, then.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, because me and Adam have a bit of banter, but it's a serious issue, isn't it? What I can say to you is that there has been a bankruptcy, of course, that throughout it, the party, you see, I represent, and in all my dealings, I represent the British National Party, and I'm the custodian of the donors and the members' money. It's not my money, it's not Nick Griffin's money, it's not your money, right? It's the members' money, like I say, and they should ask. But there's a conflict of interest between Mr. Griffin and the party on that. And I'm not going to talk in depth about that. I've taken legal advice, and it's improper for me to do so. What I can say is that the Advisory Council, the Executive Council, I'm an old hand.
Back to the good old days.
Back to the good, bad old days.
Yeah.
The Executive Council is going to be presented with a statement from a barrister and advice which we've commissioned that's going to set out to the proper people, not round-robined on the internet.
So just get this straight, you've been communicating with a barrister?
I've been communicating...
So you haven't ignored anything, or you haven't swept anything under the carpet, you've been in communications with a barrister with regards to this?
I've been in communications with everybody about that.
Yeah.
And again, there's more, a spade's a spade, Adam,
yeah.
more lies, because I've been accused of not communicating with the chairman about his situation there, right? And nobody's happy about Nick going bankrupt, right? But he's bankrupt nonetheless. And he really shouldn't be talking about his bankruptcy. But what I can say is that the party is very satisfied with the conduct of this and with my conduct throughout and with our position on that. And I'll just point out to people that it's now something like 10 months after that, and there's been no court actions and there's no crisis on that. And I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to stray.
That's fine.
I don't want to prejudice.
But the overlying message is that there is no, immediate or in the foreseeable future any problem with the bankruptcy. It's one of them things.
It's happened. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But the members won't be paying for that.
No. Well, that's good. I'm sure everybody will be pleased to know about that. That's really good.
And this will be set out from a barrister.
Yeah.
And one of the members of the advisory council that we spoke to earlier is going to accompany me down to meet the barrister to get the opinion of him, to ask him questions, and we're going to present that to the advisory council, and I'm absolutely convinced that the whole advisory council will be satisfied with that.
Excellent. So then that brings me on to the next thing, regional funds. We were told in the dodgy dossier that the regional
funds.
Yeah, the regional treasurer was going to be sacked. He hasn't been sacked. I mean, I think this was how long ago did we say the dossier was? 6 weeks or something? I don't know, whatever. But he was supposed to be getting...
You know what?
Joining the dole queue imminently again, but he
sacked by me, I believe, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's all coming back to us now, because you see what you've done there, quite cleverly, Mr. Walker, you shrewd devil, is you've picked out, obviously, the treasury bits, because I'm the treasurer. And
yes, yeah.
And which is only correct, but in the dodgy dossier, that's spread out amongst all the other propaganda.
Yeah, well,
now,
others could, talk on them.
Yeah, and now you've singled them out there, and you're going through them with us, and it's just literally occurred to us that these issues that you're bringing up here, I've been annoyed with it, right? I've been really annoyed with the betrayal of trust and the lies slung for no other purpose but selfish purposes and destabilisation, probably to cause a crisis to whatever ends, and well, whatever ends until this morning, of course, and we know what the ends are now. I won't go into them, I won't dignify them with naming them on here, but the person that wrote the dodgy dossier, his bed is sold today, and his intent from the start, I think. All those problems there, it has, to be honest, I've been quite disappointed in how some people have believed or questioned, believed enough to ask serious questions about what is clearly my integrity, my personal integrity, and the integrity of the Treasury Department and our systems, which have never been brought into question before. And I want to emphasise that, never. Even our enemies don't criticise our accountant, our accountants department.
They can't. It's impossible. Yeah.
It's ironic, isn't it, that it's only our ex-chairman that's been the first person in years to raise any financial doubts, and it's just hit me now. And actually, I'm a little bit more at ease with the people who are willing to believe that, and I can understand it because we haven't rushed to the website and answered everything point by point. And it's just as well, really. Now we find out what the mission was. And there would have been more dodgy dossiers afterwards. And you get into that cycle. And these things are very complex and they've got to be answered in... I want to answer these things, and I will, with not just talking on camera, with paper trail,
action,
evidence, categorically to the satisfaction of yourself and the ruling council, where it should be answered. But all them problems there, it just hit us there, are problems that have occurred at some point, not under my watch, but under the previous administrations during the Dawson days, for example.
So what you're saying there is that these are things that have happened in the past.
Yes.
And perhaps even though they're not a fresh wound with people, it's still a wound nonetheless.
They hit home.
Yeah.
They hit home.
And people are remembering the dark days. Yeah.
I think it's I'm quite happy we've done this hot seat thing, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of
a revelation.
Yeah, because obviously, subconsciously, people associate with those issues. Regional Treasury. Of course, many years ago now, what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Regional Treasury was part of the Central Party. And it was basically the same bank accounts. And under Mr. Griffin's watch, Mr. Griffin's orders, I believe, before I joined the Treasury team, before I picked up the mess that was left, to be honest, Regional Treasury, under Mr. Griffin, under his instructions and knowledge, lent money to Central that wasn't repaid until I became Treasurer. It's all linked together, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Until I became Treasurer and stabilised it, and we started building up the legacy income, and now every penny of that regional funds has been paid back and will never be lent again, because one of the first things I did when I became Treasurer was to separate central party funds from regional funds. And that is still the case, it always will be the case. And I'd like to say to everybody that I am not and have never been on any bank accounts in this party, right? I'm not and have never been and never will be on any bank accounts from the regions. And nobody from central office has anything to do with the regional accounts. That's James Mole's area. And
is that James Mole who should have been at the back of a dole queue?
Who I was going to sack to seize control of the regional funds.
Yes, yeah.
And again, I read that and it was almost, it was laughable. Do you know what I mean? It was laughable because, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And now I'm starting to realise why it was put in there. Because it's a problem the older hands will know very well from the past. And it doesn't take that much of a leap to scratch that scab, does it?
No.
But anyways, what I'll say, we've got fund holders out there, regional organisers. Why don't you just ring James Mole up, give him an email, ask James. Ask James if it was ever even mentioned or hinted at that he would lose his job and that Central would take those accounts. And the answer, he'll speak for himself. It's rubbish, Adam. And the person that wrote it knows it's rubbish.
Yeah, just to sow a bit of doubt where there wasn't any. Now then, moving on. Court cases. This is quite an interesting one, isn't it? How many current court cases do we have that are live? How many are we sitting on? Because people love the court cases, don't they? I mean,
people have been so fed up to the back teeth of certain people's addiction to courtrooms, and it's been my absolute priority. And I'll give everybody at home just a little bit of advice about the law, right? Don't go to court, because as soon as you walk into a courtroom, you've lost. Only the lawyers win. Even if you win the case, you're paying lawyers, and it's eating up time and energy and stress.
So how much time and energy and stress and money?
And money.
Are court cases costing us at the moment? How many have we got on the go?
I'm actually quite pleased to tell you, Mr. Chairman, I think this is the first time I've had the privilege of saying this, none.
Not one?
Not one.
So that must be a bit of a relief for you, because you've been involved with quite a lot of court cases over the years, haven't you?
Off the top of my head, something like 17.
17. Right, okay.
None of which I started, all of which I inherited, and all of which was still ongoing when I stepped into this hot seat.
So it must be quite a relief for you not to be wasting your time, effort and money. And, well, it's not your money, it would be members' money, wouldn't it?
It was members' money,
yeah.
And it was everybody loses in court. We should never have entered a lot of those cases, and the ones we did enter should have been finished instead of dragged on out of personal
vendettas.
Yeah. If you've got a vendetta, go and sort it out. Don't take it to court. But no, keep out of court. There is none going on now, and we have no court cases going.
Brilliant. Well, we can't say fairer than that. So we've gone through these things. We've done wills, we've done the secret accounts that don't exist, we've talked about staff, we've talked about the bankruptcy, we've talked about regional funds, court cases. I don't think there's anything else that we need to cover that you could answer.
Listen, you tell me.
No, I don't think there is. But
camera lads, anybody, fire them in. Listen, folks, right? People are on about, oh, we just want transparency, right? There's things that I will not talk about. I'll tell you that right now. I will not divulge sensitive information into the public domain. And when we're talking about transparency, we'll be transparent on everything we can be, and legally can be and should be. The things we can't be totally transparent about, I've got safeguards in that the people on the advisory council and the chairman and our auditors are happy with. So I think it's been quite interesting going through that, Mr. Walker. And you make quite a good interrogator there.
Well,
you've enjoyed that, haven't you?
It's just some of these things need to be sorted out, and I've just remembered there. You're on about court cases. You're saying there aren't any ongoing at the moment. I want to pull you on that one.
Go on then.
Because we do actually have a court case ongoing at the moment, and that is for our Dawn. She's currently going through the mill with the court case, but it's slightly corrected. But it's slightly different than the ones.
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
And just for a point of clarity, and I'm actually not even going to feel guilty for that. I'm just going to clarify that position. As you know, I'll be there at court with Dawn, as you will, Adam, as we were the first time.
Yep.
And in fact, last time I was in the dock with her, with the infamous peanut gate.
That's the one that got thrown out, isn't it?
Yes, like this one will, and like the last two did.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that we sue and come to police for as well.
Also, the shoe's on the other foot this time around.
We're not paying for that. We've got somebody to sue them on like a no-win, no-fee basis.
All right, yeah,
but they do cost money to defend.
Yeah.
Yes. What I was talking about was civil litigation.
Right.
That involves the Treasury Department.
Yeah.
Like staff issues, quality case, personally suing folk. That's what I was referring to, or suppliers that we don't pay in the distant past who would take us to court, that kind of thing.
So the nasty stuff.
Civil.
This is different, isn't it?
Dawn is at court, and we have got an ongoing court case. But that's a court case caused by a different kind of menace.
Different kettle of fish altogether, isn't it?
Not the kind of menace that caused all the other 17.
Right, okay.
But, and that menace is Cumbria Police and the CPS. You're a disgrace, right? And this one, it's next week, Adam, isn't it?
Well,
and Dawn's out there, right? And let's just dwell on that for a second, because Dawn's fighting that, right? We'll be fighting it with her, but she's standing, and she's standing up for herself and standing up for this party and representing it and working day after day after day, and then going to weekends of activity and council meetings at night. And that girl's been directly or indirectly attacked like the rest of the staff in the dodgy dossier, right? And the dossier makes out that, you know, poor victimised ex-chairman, right? Very selfish, right? And to portray himself as a victim, right? He's actually making victims of genuinely innocent people, right? And Dawn's one case there, because there's people out there watching this video, right? And you should be ashamed of yourself, because I'm ashamed of you, that they would criticise and attack and besmirch people like Dawn and the other volunteers and the other staff and Charlie and Chris and yourself, right? In the dodgy dossier, right? All people appointed by Mr. Griffin, right? All people praised by Mr. Griffin.
All on his team before July the 19th.
Yeah, right? And all being attacked now in the dodgy dossier. So, yeah, I'm back angry again now.
Yeah, well,
right? And I think I've reserved the right to be angry with that, right? Because that's a disgrace as well. And the folk watching, I'd like to thank a lot of you for your support as well, because although there's a few people making legitimate questions about things contained in there, and I'm not angry with you because it's your money and you should be asking them questions, but I'm angry with the people. I'm angry with the person that wrote it for his own aims, a propaganda piece, nothing else, right? And I'm angry with the people, this little small group of people that's running around causing as much trouble as they can, right?
Whilst not being in full possession of the facts,
well, being in possession of no facts.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And not having the dignity to allow people to answer things in the correct manner.
And not having the patience.
Not having the patience or the trust in their own regional staff.
And the same people who've bled with them on the battlefield. The same people.
Yeah. The same people, that we'd go off down to London and everywhere, me and you, and sleep on people's floors for 3 weeks and pound the streets with them for 10 days. You should know better. Yeah, but you do know better, actually. But we'll end on a positive note.
Yeah.
Because Dawn will be in court and hopefully right out of court. And we were working on that, actually. The legal team, superb. They were the monkey case slayers, of course. Great team there, working on that till 12 o'clock last night, taking it very seriously, and that case will be won as well, and that'll be another victory. And but we'll keep fighting here, and I hope this went somewhere to explaining why we haven't went public before, and the things I can't talk about, there's a reason for that, but I'll assure you that the Advisory Council will have it in writing, and everything I've said today I'll be held to, right? I've said it on video, I've said it in public. The party is not in crisis. In fact, the party's future is, for the first time, not under huge mountains of threats. And since you became chairman, Adam, donations have picked up, membership has picked up. Ironically, with the departure of our ex-chairman yesterday, the phones have started ringing again, because people...
For a different reason.
For a different reason. A positive reason.
Yeah.
Because good people are coming back that wouldn't come back while he was there. And I'm not happy of what's happened, and as we've discussed, we'd much rather they didn't. But there's no crisis, and we ask for your patience, and we ask for your trust, and I think we deserve a bit of that, to be fair. And thanks for giving us the opportunity and the permission, Mr. Chairman, for talking about various things.
Well, it's good, you know, because we've managed to clear the air, and I think that's really important, and we have to thank people for those who have been patient. We've got to thank them.
And there's a lot of them.
There are a lot of them, People realise that Rome wasn't built in a day. we're in a transition period now. Things are not as easy as people may think. You know, we've gone from one stage to another. We're getting bigger, we're getting stronger, we're getting better, we're becoming more sleek at what we do. We're building firm foundations, and I can't see us doing any better than, you know, than what we are doing to make things progress and you know, offer our people a choice.
Well, do bear with us, because I can see one huge leap forward that's already been made, that we haven't got to deal with crap like that dodgy dossier trying to undermine the good work of people that have sacrificed just as much as the person that writ it. Right? We won't have that thrown at us, and we won't have the friction under the surface, right, that we've kept from people, which was added pressure. And I really just hope, and I'll just make a direct appeal there, just people have stated their intentions to move on and do whatever. Please, just go and do that. Show a bit of dignity, you know? And people, get behind your chairman, get behind the party, and we will move on, Adam. We'll keep fighting. We'll keep fighting for as long as it takes, and that'll be a long time. And I'm pleased that, well, I'm pleased to have been able to address a few of people's concerns, and you've only pulled a few out, and I'm sure there's more. If you've got more, give them to your organiser. He'll give them to your regional organiser. He'll bring it to the advisory council if it's an issue, and we'll answer them.
Right, well, brilliant. Listen, Clive, we're going to have to wrap it up there. It's 20 to 8 on a Thursday night.
Is it?
It is indeed.
By God.
Yeah. When most people are watching Emmerdale or whatever it is that they're brainwashed with at this particular point in time on a Thursday, I'm not really sure. But thank you very much for coming. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure everybody will be pleased to hear this, and onwards and upwards. Thank you very much.
That's one.
So this is Adam Walker, coming at you from Cumbria. I've just been speaking to our treasurer there, Cllr Jefferson. We've cleared up a few points there. Hopefully everybody's happy with what we've been saying, and we can see that we're moving forward, we're building on firm foundations, and things are getting better. Thanks for watching, folks.